Dragon Age The Veilguard is launching this week. I've already made over 10 breakdowns about the game, but today I wanted to boil down all of those super long breakdown videos into 5 decisions that you need to make before you play Dragon Age Veilguard. Let's go! I am genuinely curious what your answers to these decisions will be. So in the pinned comments, there's like a little template you can copy and paste if you want to like write your own answers out for these different topics. But we'll start with number 1, and that is the race. Now, the lineage or the race is the first choice that you will make in the character creator, and you can pick between the 4 major races of Dragon Age universe. Firstly, the elves. They are the descendants of an ancient fallen empire pushed to the margins in the past. Some elves are building a brighter future by exploring their civilization's lost wonders. Now, all of these races will have some unique dialogue options throughout the game, as well as their own unique customization options in the character creator as well. For example, with the elves, they cannot have beards, and they do have unique pointy ear options. The Kunari are feared and envied for their size and strength. Some Kunari follow a strict philosophy from their homeland, while others joined different cultures generations ago. The Kunari have fewer hair options, only 30 compared to the other races' 88, but instead they get these horns options, and there are 49 different horn options, and inside that you can change like the horn material, the metal type if metal is present, as well as the type of crystal if there is a crystal present in their horns as well. Humans are an ambitious and prosperous people. Humanity's various kingdoms are the ascendant powers of this age. Now, humans have basically the stock standard options for everything, like there's no unique customization options for the humans, they just have access to all the basic stuff. The dwarves, however, are clever and tough in equal measure. Dwarves cannot dream or wield magic, but possess a mysterious and ancient bond with the earth. Now, something to note with the dwarves is that they cannot use magic, so you can't actually be a mage as a dwarf, and there are no unique like facial hair options or anything as the dwarf. When picking your decision here from a race, there is a couple of things to think about. Now, the story in Veilguard is going to be heavily focused on the ancient elven society and their gods and culture, so playing as an elf, you'll get a little bit more depth in that variety, but there is really no wrong option here, right? Like in the preview, I played as a dwarf and had a great time, and I'm probably going to play as a dwarf when I play the full game as well. Now, there are more customization options in the character creator, obviously, and I did go through all of them, every single one in my character creator video, which I'll link right here if you want to see all of those different options. The second choice that you will make is class. Now, I've low-key already made 4 videos that cover all the classes in detail, so I will link some of those here for you as well. But today we're going to focus on the decision that you're going to make. So we'll start with the rogue. Now, this is a fast, agile class that wields 2 dual-wielded swords or a ranged bow, and unlike the other classes, you actually wield these together. So the bow fits as your ranged attack, and then all of your melee attacks are based around the dual swords. Unique to the rogue is a couple of things. Firstly, their like class resource is called momentum, which is mostly gained by dodging attacks or parrying successfully, and there is like a special little dodge where you turn into like a mist if you like perfect dodge things as a rogue. Now, something to point out here as a rogue is that you cannot block, you can only deflect. The other classes have block and deflect options. The rogue does not. You can only deflect attacks, and you also only have that one melee option being the dual wielded swords, and then the ranged option being the ranged bow. We'll talk about the other differences when we get into the other classes and how that works. But the 3 specializations here are Duelist, which is a melee focused necrotic damage user, Saboteur, a trap and turret focused specialization, and the Veil Ranger, which is a ranged focus spec that uses long range shots with pinpoint accuracy. The Warrior, on the other hand, is, traditionally say like the tank of the party, either wielding a sword and shield or a 2-handed weapon, and can switch between them freely by pressing like down on the D-pad or whatever the button will be on PC. The class resource here is called Rage, that is just simply gained by dealing or taking damage as a warrior. And another thing to point out as well is that they are able to block with the shield, or if they're using the 2-handed weapon, they can have like a parry or deflect. So depending on the weapon type they are using, they have a different option for how their block or deflect actually works. The 3 specializations here are the Slayer, which is a 2-handed weapon focused specialization that focuses on stagger and physical damage, the Reaper, which wields necrotic damage to siphon enemy health from them to restore your own, and the Champion, which uses a shield to protect their allies with fire damage. The mage also wields two different weapon types. Firstly, the staff for ranged combat, or a mage knife and orb combo if you want to get up close and personal. And you can switch between these freely by pressing down on the D-pad, the same as the warrior can, which is the difference between the rogue, who cannot actually do these different combos. Now, as the mage, your class resource here is just simply mana, which you'll regenerate over time, and you also have the option to block if you are wielding the staff, or you can deflect if you are wielding the mage knife and the orb. The three specializations here are Death Caller, which is a necrotic damage specialist, the Evoker, which is a cold damage and area manipulation magic specialist, and the Spellblade, which is a melee-focused mage wielding electricity damage. So when you're making a choice between the three classes here, something to point out is that you can only pick one of the classes. You won't actually be able to like respec into a different class like later in the game or anything like that. However, you can respec your skill tree and like change specialization, the abilities you're using, etc. For example, if you're playing as a warrior, you've got like a champion build set up using all this fire damage. Maybe you want to try something different and you want to lean into, say, like the necrotic damage and siphoning health like the Reaper. You can respec and then move all of your stats and everything over to that specialization, make a build like focused on that rather than champion, and just go from there. But you can't actually change your class once you've picked one at the start of the game. The third decision you will make is which faction you will join. This is another choice you'll make during character creation, and this is an important one. I wouldn't say it's super important, like it's not the most critical one, but there is a lot of things that this does affect. Now, firstly, it will affect your surname, though most characters are going to refer to you as Rook anyway. And there are three minor passives that each faction gets. The first one is always going to increase the amount of reputation you gain with that faction more quickly. The second one is a buff to a specific enemy damage type, for example, with the Grey Wardens, because they're all about the Darkspawn. You get Blight Killer, which will increase the amount of damage you will deal against the Darkspawn. And the third one is unique. So for the Grey Wardens, this is to increase your base damage and health slightly increased. For the Veil Jumpers, you get Keen Eye to deal slightly increased critical and weak point damage. For the Shadow Dragons, you get Resourcefulness, your class specific resource regenerates slightly faster. The Lords of the Fallen gets Relentless to perform takedowns on enemies with slightly less effort. By the way, takedowns are that purple bar that if you fill up with stagger, you'll then be able to form like a finishing hit and finish them off before their health bar is empty. The Mournwatch will gain Acute Afflictions. You can apply an additional affliction stack on targets, and the Anteven Crows gets Hidden Pouch to hold an extra potion. Now, there is more on top of this. So all factions will have a unique backstory for your Rook. These backstories aren't just flavor text. When you interact with that faction in the game, they will know about these events, they will know your Rook, and they'll speak positively or negatively towards you based on that backstory. I have a video on the channel that goes in depth on these backstories, what each of them are for each of the different factions and things they affect, etc. So I'll link that here if you want to know that. Also, all of the companions are linked to one of the factions, and that will impact your relationship with them. Say, for example, if you are a part of the Anteven Crows, you'll definitely be able to build that like relationship with Lucanus much easier because of your shared connection. But when picking a background, it's really hard to say like what you should really focus on because there are so many things that comes into play, right? If you're focusing on min-maxing your character for combat, think about those three passives and which one benefits your character build the best. If you're more focused on roleplay, think about that backstory and which backstory you want your Rook to embody throughout the game. Or if you're just a simp for one of the particular companions, just pick the one that they are. All right, so number 4 on this list is Past Adventures. Now, Dragon Age Keep has been removed from Dragon Age The Veilguard and is now referred to as Past Adventures. If you don't know what Dragon Age Keep was, it was a tool that allowed you to make decisions in the previous Dragon Age games and then import a save file that you can then bring into Inquisition that'll give you like a custom world state with certain character choices or events having played out a particular way based on the choices you made during Dragon Age Keep. And what this allowed for you was to like have increased replayability, I would say, for Inquisition, try out different things, or if you've played the games in different ways, you can then advance those story elements through to the next game and see how they actually affect things. Now, for this Past Adventures stuff, we're not actually allowed to show you the specific screens or the choices involved. Unfortunately, I'm still under embargo for a lot of that stuff. That won't change until after launch. I really wanted to talk to you guys about this stuff. I actually checked again and I still can't, but what you can do, however, is you can customize your Inquisitor from Dragon Age Inquisition only, and I can actually tell you a little bit more information based on the IGN article that went out that gave some more details as well. So the game director Corinne Bush mentioned to IGN that players will be able to recreate their Inquisitor in the character creator, so you'll be able to customize what your original Inquisitor looked like so you can make them look like your one from Inquisition. I'm definitely going to like age up my like OG Inquisitor and like, you know, make him look more grizzled because he's been through so much. Further along in the IGN article, they give some more details about the decisions that the Inquisitor can carry over. Reading from the article, those decisions are who your Inquisitor romance with the options, gender, and the lineage locked in the same way that they were in Inquisition, whether or not you disbanded the Inquisition, and whether you vowed to stop Solus or save him. Now, I would recommend you read this article as it does give some more in-depth information about why they made this decision, and it's only these choices rather than you think about the choices that you can make not only in Dragon Age Keep, but obviously in Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2. There's a lot of choices that you'll make throughout that you were able to then import into Inquisition. I personally think we will need to have a bit of a wait and see approach to see how this does turn out in the game, if this was like the right or the wrong choice based on those choices. I definitely do feel a bit disappointed that, not all those choices that you would have made throughout the game are going to come into Dragon Age Veilguard. It definitely is a bit of a bummer, but I'm still very interested to see how they pull this off. The key takeaway to think about here, though, for this whole point of number 4 is who your Inquisitor romanced, if anyone, whether or not you disbanded the Inquisition, and whether you vowed to stop Solus or save him. Now, if you didn't play Inquisition or you just don't care about these choices, it's totally not a big deal. You can just go into the game and there's a default world state, so you don't necessarily feel like you're missing out on anything or anything like that. The game won't force you to make these decisions if you just don't care, right? And the 5th choice that you have to make before playing the game is a fun one. The last one, it's a bit more general statement, right? Who is your Rook? Is your Rook a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is he somewhere in the middle? Dragon Age games and most Bioware games in general have always allowed for a lot of character expression in how you choose to role play your character. To help you think about those ideas and get the ball rolling, I'll tell you what my 3 character ideas are. My main character for Veilguard, or the first one I'm going to play, will be either a dwarf or a human rogue. I haven't totally decided on the race yet. However, they will be a part of either the Antivan Crows or the Veil Jumpers. Now, they're going to be a bit of a, I would say in terms of, D&D alignment, right? A chaotic neutral sort of a character where they're just going to make decisions based on what I feel like doing, in that moment, rather than sticking to a specific role play. I always think it's fun to just have a character where you just make decisions based on spare of the moment, decision making. You're all right, I'm going to do X, I'm going to do Y. You don't think about decisions too much. It's also good just from a content creation perspective to do that for your first playthrough, so you can get through that content a little bit faster without thinking too much about your decision making. But the next 2 I've thought very extensively about. The first one is a Kunari warrior as a part of the Morn Watch. Probably for specialization here, they're definitely going to be some sort of a Reaper, but this is going to be a chaotic evil character that's going to be very gruff and serious and, basically pick all of the bad dialogue options and be so, why have I fallen into this situation? Solus is the worst and I hate all these guys. And we'll see where that takes us, right? But we're going to do all the bad stuff and just see where that goes. And my last is the complete opposite, which is going to be an elf mage. Either of the Shadow Dragons or Grey Wardens, haven't totally decided on the faction there. I'm interested in your thoughts as well, but they're going to be that lawful good, right? We're just going to make all of the good choices. We're the teacher's pet. We're going to help out every single person, pick all of the good dialogue options, and then again, see where that takes us. Now, let me know your choices to these 5 decisions in the comments down below, and make sure you are obviously subscribed to the channel and like the video, because I'm going to have a whole lot of Dragon Age Veilguard content coming out after launch, so you don't want to miss any of that. But thank you for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.